be nice to finally see it, the law of the land, and see people using it and getting their licenses.
I've been
and starting
positive
to
since
build
day
their life
one, and I'm more
together,
positive today. I'm very grateful to
and I've
these
even
gentlemen
heard, a
that
couple
are standing
story
behind
points
me,
of
and
couples
there's
moving
many
to
people out
Illinois
and about that
because
are
we
also
have a
supportive
civil
and
union,
see the need, and
law here.
as I said,
and,
want Illinois to be able to step to the front of
I think
the
it's
line.
a good day for Illinois.
Smart meters seem to be one of the things that are being touted as the direct benefit to consumers. If this were to pass, how soon would consumers be able to expect those to roll out across the state?
During the smart meter plan on the ComEd side is a 10-year plan that will meet 100% completion. At the end of the 10 years, Ameren Electric estimates that they would have 62% of their residences would have smart meters in them. We, of course, hope at that time, or even before that time, the General Assembly would see how well the program is going when we have the hard cap in 2017, or when we check the rate statement in 2014. And maybe at that time, the General Assembly may even say it's going so well that we want to extend it to make sure Ameren can develop it. They do have plans, but of course, we're working on a 10-year cycle here, and they'll be at 62% at the end of 10 years.
I was talking to Representative from Cub yesterday who said that they believe the 90% estimated bill target is a little too lenient in the bill. Is there...
The 90%?
They said that estimated bills would be at, that only 10% of bills would be estimated.
One of the performance metrics is to reduce the number of estimated bills. Many of our consumers, of course, do not appreciate getting an estimated bill, and so one of the metrics they'll be judged on, and they could lose 5 basis points if they don't meet it, is over the 10-year program they'll reduce the number of estimated bills by 90%. So I think that's a pretty strict metric.
How many estimated bills are there?
Well, I usually would have someone behind me yell that in my ear right now, but I know it's. Ann, do you have that answer? I know it's quite a few.
For ComEd, it really depends upon the time of the year. So, for instance, when we had the blizzard hit in February, you can't get meter readers out. Your estimated bill rates goes up. But frankly, there's tens of million bills. We have 4.8 million meters, 4.1 million meters, excuse me. We read them once a month. So at certain times of the year, our estimated bills can be in the tens of millions. So we're talking about dramatic reductions by taking that down 90%.
Is there any effect on municipal utilities with this bill? Does it apply to them?
It does not, and we don't anticipate any of them would opt in, even if it would.
Is that just Springfield and Naperville? Or is there someplace else? St. Charles.
Quite a few. Yeah. I think there's over 40 municipal electrics. Most of them don't have generation, but there are maybe 42, as I recall.
They're all electric regulated.
On the performance metrics, who will be policing that? How would the process go if utility companies aren't able to reach those metrics?
It'll be in the annual review that the ICC will look at the performance metrics as well as the rest, and they'll have to report that in their annual rating filing. It's Senate Bill 1652, and I believe it'll be Amendment 1, correct?
When do you plan to?
I plan on bringing it to committee tomorrow and to the floor on Friday.
And how quickly in the Senate if it passes the House?
I have confidence that Senator Jacobs will be very expeditious in his handling of this matter.
It's only taken the House 4 months, so I figure at least the Senate in a day. The important thing here is that is what happens if you don't do it. And everybody can have a little problem. Every interest group in the country, Cub included, can have a tiny problem. But at the end of the day, we don't get to vote for tiny problems. We get to vote for big issues. And either we push a green button or a red button. I don't push the yellow one. I'm going to see a lot of green, because if you don't do it, you can't compete. And that's what we have to remember. It's not only about jobs. It's not only about fostering green energy. At the end of the day, it's about competing. And I hope that we don't handcuff the bill so much with government regulation that we make the bill unworkable. And I think at this point that hasn't happened. But who knows what will happen once it gets to the Senate.
I do want to say again, though, that
Yeah, just go to concurrence.
yeah, but the senators have been involved. I mean, truthfully, I do take that consideration serious, and they have been involved. Senator Jacobs has been involved from day one. We've had subject matter hearings where both the House and the Senate joined together, and I've been really impressed with the level of involvement. And because many times things of this nature do come down to the end, and so we saw the need to get them involved early, and many of them have taken a real active role.
What has the governor said about this new version of the bill?
The governor said he didn't like the previous version. I have every confidence, as I mentioned at the end there. I think that when the governor sees what we've changed, the governor's office was very helpful in making a suggestion about that procurement, reaching out into the 4th, 5th, and 6th years. He thought that was a good idea. I've gotten those numbers, I promise you, are very conservative that Mr. Pruitt from the Illinois Power Agency gave me about the savings that he ran some numbers, and over the years since we've created that authority, he has been very accurate. So he's told me if I mentioned over $500 million in savings, his comment would be that that was a very conservative estimate. So I appreciated his help with everything.
So you've been working closely with the governor's office then on this new version throughout the process?
I've tried to advise them of things that were being changed, and that said that I would get them a copy ASAP, and we have shared much information with them. The companies have met with the governor's office as well. So I think they have been brought more up to speed, especially in the last couple of weeks.
Do you expect the Attorney General to change her mind given the new version?
The Attorney General, I met with one of their people last night, and they took the version. They were the second group. Once we gave it to the proofreaders, they were the second group I gave it to. So I'm hoping they'll look it over. I know they have to be happier than they were with the original version, but that'll be up to them as what their final position on it's going to be. So I feel confident that we've made enough changes. I have said in the subcommittees, for those of you who have sat there, we are the policy wing of the government. It's our job to do things that we think are in the best interest of this state going into the future. The executive branch has a different mission than we have. So I respect the Attorney General's opinion, but I think this is something that needs to be done. I think these are jobs that we need to produce for our citizens, and I think that the investment is going to pay off in the long run for all of us. And so I think that the legislature should do their job, and then the others can weigh in, and we certainly respect their opinion. But I would expect hopefully the governor will receive it warmly, but I think we got a great package here, and I'm proud of it, and hopefully we'll get it to his desk.
Representative, how quickly could the $500 million purchase or savings come into play? Can you just walk us through what happens next?
He just, I don't know everything that Mr. Pruitt does, but he laid it out over the 54 months. It's a 4.5-year plan from July of 2013 to December of 31, and he put out scenarios, and he said he was very conservative in the scenarios. And the exact numbers, I'm using 500 million because that's easier for me to remember, but his thing was on the low side was 580, and on the high side, once again with conservative numbers, was 780 to 800 million dollars in savings. And as I said earlier, these are passed straight to the ratepayers because this is the price of power.
Does that cancel out, somehow alleviate some of the potential for the $3 a month charge that would be on the average customer?
Well, it all gets added in, and of course, as more of the technology gets through the systems, more of the savings is going to come there. That's why we have the 2.5% for the first couple of years. But we will start seeing more savings from these advanced technologies, just like in the number of meter readers as smart meters get more prevalent throughout the system. So we'll see that. We'll also see the outages start to go down, but it will be a gradual thing, and that's why we have a little bit of a rate cap in the first couple of years of it. And but we expect to see some of those charges mitigated as time goes on because of the improvements in the system. And we all pay for those outages, whether it's at your house or not. We pay for those outages if it's part of the system. I'm in the ComEd area, so when ComEd has an outage in downtown Chicago, I'm paying for it just like the rest of the ratepayers, and that's fair. But eliminating those outages, and there's a metric on those too, for both duration and frequency. And so eliminating them and bringing them back is going to save all of us money in the long term. But we have to be fair. The technology has to start, being introduced throughout the system before we can expect overnight improvement in those things. But that's why we have the Senate staff came up with the 10-year plan going backwards as far as how the metrics will be measured, and that's why they're so significant too.
So we've been writing this for months using price tags of $12, $36. When we write this today, what are we telling people that their power bill is going to go up? What is the new price tag?
Well, they have it, in the cap, they have a 2.5%. So if they look at their bill and their bill is about $50 a month, then they know in the first year cannot go up more than, the cap will be, the justification would be done at the end of the 3 years, but if it would go up more than $1.25 on a $50 bill, that would be above that cap, and they would lose the formula rate. So, but we still think that the $3 a month at the end of the program is going to be the approximate cost. And depending now there will be people like Mr. Winters here who has taken advantage of some of these programs already. There will be people who have significant savings beyond that too. So if they basically they won't need to do much, just the overall benefits of like the lack of outages and things of that nature will hold down the cost of that $3 a month. But if they take advantage of some of the things, and maybe Dave could just mention one or two.
I was part of one of the early pilot projects on the smart grid where we are paying, my own household is paying by the hour whatever Commonwealth Edison is paying for the power. So if I choose to use my power at nighttime or at a time when power is cheap, we're saving over, I think, 15% on my average monthly bill, which far outweighs the $3 a month that would get everybody those smart meters. Now, not everybody will see those energy savings the first year because it takes 10 years to get the whole smart meter build out done. But the minute you have the smart meter and choose to go to time of day pricing, you have the opportunity then to buy cheaper power, avoid using power at the most expensive times. And the pilot project that we're waiting the final results on, the initial results were between 10 and 15% for every class of consumer. Low income, high income, residential consumers are saving 10 to 15% on their power bill, which is more than double the monthly savings that they would see in that $3 charge. So,
When you say every class of consumer, are you talking about,
well, they looked at the demographics.
you're talking about people with meters, right?
Pardon?
You're talking about people with meters, right, with the new meters.
Yes, and this was I think there were 6,000 households they randomly selected. So there are 6,000 others that wanted to get in on the program but did not get the meters, and they compared the two groups so you had a fair scientific basis. And those that had the chance to buy power at a cost where they could see, you know, it's expensive right now, I'm not going to run the clothes dryer, you know, or you know, I can stand a couple of degrees warmer temperature in the house if I'm not buying 30 cent a kilowatt power, and I'll pre-cool at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'll just program it to pre-cool at a couple of extra degrees when I'm buying it at 4 cents a kilowatt hour. That's the kind of decisions, and consumers have really jumped on this.
Do you get a brownout each month or something?
We probably do. I don't pay a lot of attention to it. I just look at the bottom line. But it's been going down, and every year when I get an annual summary, and actually we saved about 29% in my household last year. 29% of the total cost. Now I'm probably an outlier, not a typical household, but the average of that entire experiment was, I think, 10% the first year, 15% the second year. We're waiting the results for the third year.
I just have one more. I know you guys are sweating. Did you want to add?
Yeah, I just did. You know, two things I want to address. One is, what's the cost if we don't do it? The cost if we don't do it, we won't have the modernization we need to move forward. And, you know, people want to look at things and say, and base it on prices, but you can't base this on price. And that's kind of silly. We're dealing with 100-year-old technology, and if consumers want something to work, they've got to pay for it. And the fact is it costs money. And, you know, there's nothing for free. My cable bill went up $10 a month last month. Nobody even asked me if they could raise it. But here, the Attorney General, who doesn't even have a vote in this body, is determining how I should vote or what I should do? No. If you want to vote in this General Assembly, run for the office.
Okay, my follow-up is, did you say 62% in 10 years?
No, ComEd is fully built out in
Yeah.
10 years.
Fully built out in 10 years?
Ameren Electric was 62%, and
Okay, and where do you start this? Is it like, do you know where you're starting and which way you're going?
So one of the one of the pieces of feedback we heard was there was a concern that we had run this pilot on smart meters. We had reports coming out, and we were going to move forward with meter implementation in this legislation before the reports came out. We have taken a step back. We are going to wait for those reports to come out. October is the time frame. We're then going to go to a proceeding at the ICC where all stakeholders can weigh in, and we're going to design the implementation program at the commission. So where and how quickly they get built out is going to be part of the discussion at the commission. We actually had a collaborative process around the pilot that worked very well. We got a lot of feedback from stakeholders about where, location-wise, where it might make sense. We actually engaged stakeholders in designing the RFP for the meter vendors. They were very engaged in all parts of it. So we'll see that again at the Illinois Commerce Commission before we start. Well, yeah, it's hard to say. I think that's something that we want to leave open for debate. Obviously, we've got our pilot in the Maywood, Oak Park, Berwyn area, and to some extent, building out from there is, operationally probably something that makes some sense. But there's a lot of other considerations I think that we want to take into account, and that's why we're going to go to the commission and listen to other people's feedback on that, other parties' feedback on that.
Utilities will decide. It won't be an order from the Commerce Commission, or in this legislation, you will decide where the
Oh, no, no, no. It will be part of an ICC decision that will come out at the end of this process.
ICC will tell you where.
That's right. We'll make a proposal. The goal is, and this is what happened with the pilot, is we had a consensus proposal. Again, when you have consensus, that doesn't mean everybody signed on to every detail, but we had a consensus where the majority of stakeholders agreed with the design and the proposal, and that's what we would look to have in this ICC process as well. But the commission will have the final say on that.
It'll work the same way for Ameren then, too?
Yes, it will. Both of the companies will present the program, and we mentioned that earlier, that was one of the things the interveners brought up, that they should wait until the pilot program study is actually complete. We've agreed to that, and that's in the legislation, that they'll present the deployment plan to them, and then the ICC will look it over and give them a yes or no on it. So